Welcome back, family. Here's part 3 of our garden bed build.
So a few days have gone by for us, but we are ready to get planting. Now originally I thought that there would only be one step left, but we're actually going to divide it into 2, and you'll see why here in a second. So we are moving on to step 5, which is sectioning off our garden bed. Now we're doing this because we're following what's known as the square foot garden method, and that consists of dividing the garden bed into equal square foot sections. As new gardeners, we thought that this would be the best method for us. It helps us focus on smaller sections at a time when conceptualizing where we're going to plant our different fruits and vegetables. Also, this will help ensure that we give the proper amount of spacing for each plant. It will help us keep our garden nice and neat, and it'll also maximize the amount of space we have. We're only doing this one raised garden bed for this first season of planting, and so we definitely wanted to make sure that we were maximizing spacing, ensuring that we could pack tight several different fruits and vegetables. Okay guys, so I've grabbed a tape measure and a Sharpie, and we're going to make our marks measuring all around the perimeter of our box so that we'll know how to line up our boxes. Now, because we have rails on this bed, we're actually going to cheat a little bit, and we're going to measure 11 inches. Every 11 inches make a mark instead of 12. That's because we're measuring inside to inside, and that would give us for our short edge 44 inches, and for our longer edge it would give us a total of 89 inches. Now, we're not too concerned about that 1 inch. Again, following the square foot method, it's supposed to be a square foot, which is 12 inches. Listen guys, just get your squares as even as possible and as close to that 12-inch 1 foot total for each of the squares. If it's off by a little bit, it's okay. It's going to change depending on if you added rails or if you didn't. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so next I've grabbed some string, a pair of scissors, and some tape, and I'm just using what I had on hand. So I had this hem cord already. This is just good old masking tape. Now what I did, I've already pre-cut my string, but I did so by just laying it long ways across the bed, and I cut 2 pieces, leaving excess on each side to kind of drape over the bed a little. And then I did the same thing going our short side across the bed, 2 pieces, again leaving some excess. We want the excess there because we are going to tape it. We're going to line up the string, I'll show you here in a minute, but we'll line up our string with the marks that we made of our measurements. Okay, now the reason why we're only using 2 pieces is because that is going to make 2 pieces on each side, is because that's going to make our box. That's all we need to make the box for the interior of the bed. You'll see what I mean. But I do want to mention that some people, they permanently wrap string around a screw and sink that screw into the sides of their bed, and they lay out the entire grid for the entire bed. I think they leave the string there permanently. So I've decided not to. I'm just going to move my tape and string as we go. We'll see if we like this method. Maybe next season we'll do it differently, but let's go ahead and get these pieces taped into place.
As you can see, we're pulling the string nice and taut, and we're making sure that each piece of string is lined up right over our 11-inch marks.
You guys, we've got our string secure, giving us 4 perfect squares to start with. And as you can see here, this is again why we needed our 4 pieces of string. 1, 2, 3, 4 for these inside squares. We are now ready for step 6, planting our fruits and vegetables. Let's get started. Okay guys, so we are going to start by planting our tomato plants. These are Fairy Morse beef steak tomato plants. Now, I wanted to mention that tomato plants can either be what they call determinants or indeterminates. Determinants are known to be bushier and they have a determined amount of fruit that they're going to produce. Once harvested, the plant will die, from what I understand anyhow. These, however, are what they call indeterminate. They generally grow vine-like, and so they can grow vertically, which is what we are going to strive to do. They don't bush out like determinates, and as you harvest them, they will continually regrow fruit, reproduce fruit, all the way until the first frost of fall or winter.
To remove our plants from their cartons, we'll tilt them downward while carefully scrunching the carton to help release the soil and roots from the sides and bottom. The downward tilt will encourage gravity to allow the plants to gently fall out instead of us pulling them out, which could cause unnecessary trauma to the root system. The key here is to be gentle and patient.
Okay guys, so now that this is out of the carton, what we're actually going to do is remove some of these branches, probably up until about this point. That's because this particular indeterminate tomato, it has a really large root system. You'll actually see that it has really fine hairs that grow up the stem, and if those are planted within the soil, they will actually sprout out roots. So tomatoes are one of the only plants that can be planted really deep. We're actually going to plant this about a foot deep into the soil so that we can build a nice healthy root system so that as our tomato plant is vining up, it's nice and strong.
So I'm going ahead and pruning our tomato plant, which means trimming unwanted stems. The stems are currently very small, therefore I can use my nails to pinch them off. When pruning larger stems, however, you'll want to use nippers so that you don't put stress on the main stem of the plant. Pruning helps ensure that nutrients are going to the actual fruit versus the leaves. Removing unnecessary leaves will also encourage good air circulation, which prevents disease. Since we're growing up a single main stem, I'm removing stems that are growing in the armpits of the main stem and perpendicular stems. These are known as suckers. We'll continually look for and remove the suckers throughout the growing season. Next, we're digging the hole for our tomato plant, which will be about a foot deep. When digging, we don't want to compact our soil. Remember that we want to ensure it remains nice and loose. Following the square foot gardening method, we're going to place one tomato plant in the center of one of our square boxes. The consensus seems to be to place tomato plants 18 to 24 inches apart, and it's important to mention that when calculating the distance, you should measure from the center of one square box to the center of the next. We decided that our second tomato plant will be placed 2 squares over so that the plants are 24 inches apart. As our tomato plants begin to grow, they'll need support from a trellis, which is one of the reasons why we decided to plant them on the back row of our garden bed. Next, we'll gently pack the dirt around the base of the plant. We repeated this process for the second tomato plant and then moved our taped pieces of string so that they were in place for planting our cucumbers.
Okay guys, so next we have our cucumbers, and these are also Fairy Morse. They're straight 8s, and as the name suggests, they grow very straight. Now these are also vining. They're not bushing, which is good because like our tomatoes, we are going to try to grow them straight up, attach them to a trellis. So we have them here in the back row on the edge of our garden bed along with our tomatoes. So we're gonna go ahead and get these guys in the ground. We got them again from a family friend, and they were like with us for a week, so probably waited a little too late to plant them, and we can see some like yellowing, but hopefully we'll get them back in the ground and they'll snap back to life.
We're going to plant our cucumbers the same depth as the transplant soil, which for us is about 4 inches deep, and we're placing one plant in the center of one of our square boxes. Like our tomato plants, the cucumber plants are going to need lots of space, so these two will be planted 24 inches apart. This spacing will encourage proper airflow, which will help prevent powdery mildew, a common plant fungal disease. Now, we've heard that some cucumbers are better for slicing while others are better for pickling, but allegedly, these are great for both. Pick them early while they're small if you're looking to pickle them, and let them fully mature if you want to slice them.
All right, so next we are going to be planting some peppers, and we have 2 different varieties of peppers. We have the taller ones, which are our banana peppers, sweet banana peppers, 2 of those plants, and then we have the shorter ones, 4 of these plants, and these are our bell peppers. They're supposed to be sweet bell peppers, and the variety is California Wonder. Now, for planting our peppers, in order to know the depth, we're going to go right up to where the first leaves are starting to sprout out. The leaves are starting to sprout here, so we're going to plant it right into the soil meets where these sprouts are coming out. With our peppers, each of them are going to take up 1 square foot, so one of our squares.
Remember how we said to have patience when removing the plants from their cartons? Well, y'all, these daggone peppers were quite stingy. Luckily, that patience came in handy. As you can see, some of the soil started to crumble. However, the roots were not damaged. Our 2 sweet banana peppers are in the ground, and now we're wrapping up planting our 4 bell peppers. We'll give our string one final move as we prepare to plant our onions.
Okay guys, last but not least, we're planting some onions. We have what's called onion sets here, and the key to planting these is that you're going to want to plant the root side down. So you'll see a little fuzzy side, that's the root side. The top is where you have the green starting to grow, or the pointy side would be your top. The bottom will have the little fuzzies, and that's where the roots are. So we want to put the root side down. Points or greens are going to grow up to the sky, and with these guys we're just going to wiggle our way into the dirt about 1 inch deep, no more than that. We're not going to completely cover them up, but kind of scrunch the dirt up next to them.
We started by loosening the dirt of the 4 squares in which we're going to place our onions. Following the square foot gardening method, 9 onions can fit inside of 1 square foot box. As you can see, I initially made rows and columns with my finger, trying to dictate exactly where to place each onion. I saw others recommend this, but y'all, I can't lie. For me, this method just made things messier. I wasn't even able to see the columns and rows that I called myself making. So for the remainder of the boxes, I just ended up eyeballing it. Again, we simply wiggled these into the soil about 1 inch deep and then scrunched the dirt up on the sides.
Okay guys, all of our fruits and vegetables are in the ground. If they have seeds, they are technically considered to be a fruit, which is why I'm saying fruits and vegetables. We planted these things because they all generally need a full day of sun, so around 7 hours at least of direct sun. We planted them in the afternoon. Hopefully that'll give them time to kind of settle in. The temperatures are cooling off before being blasted by the sunlight tomorrow. They all grow well in warm soil, lots of heat in the air as well. And as you can see, we kind of left some gaps. Again, this is the only garden bed that we are doing this year, and so we're going to be doing something called companion gardening, where we add additional fruits and vegetables in between some of what we've already planted. So as we get into the later summer months, we'll start to grow things like hopefully carrots and kale, maybe some garlic. So we'll talk about that a little bit further down our gardening journey. Also, these fruits and vegetables typically need about 1 to 2 inches of water per week. All of them require about that much. So we'll also be talking about that process as we go, as the weeks and months progress. But we're excited because they are in the ground.
Family, this completes our 3-part introductory to gardening, but please stay tuned because our gardening journey is just getting started. We have additional insights and projects that we're excited to share with you. We're doing more planting, and we definitely need y'all's feedback, encouragement, and tips from those who have some gardening wisdom. We love y'all so much, and until next time, be blessed.